And how did you meet Joe?
So I had been working at Zoom for almost 3 years, and one of the colleagues I was working with said, there's this company that just sounds perfect for you. It's a small group of people. At the time, it was 12 people, and my freshman room dorm mate at Stanford is one of the co-founders, Joe.
No kidding.
So he put me in touch with Joe, and Joe hired me. That's how I got started.
While Silicon Valley builds chatbots, this company is building AI that saves lives. Let's dive into the mission and origin of Palantir and how it's already changing how wars and governments work.
So what was Palantir at the start, at the beginning?
It was honestly something much smaller. I mean, it was still ambitious in the sense that this group of folks wanted to work on problems to help a handful of institutions in the world with counterterrorism. And we had this idea that the discourse, if we can remember what it was like immediately post 9/11, it was really the political discourse was something like, what matters more, security or privacy? And it's like to us as engineers, that sounded stupid. Like, don't both of those things matter? And so, politicians, they debate where should you be on the efficient frontier? Should we trade off this to have more of this or whatever? But engineers, they build things so you can have more of both. And so who's going to build the actual technology that allows us to protect the data so that we can maximize what we can share, so that there's never going to be dots that we can't connect again, and do so in a way that the American people have confidence in and can believe in, and recognizing that a solution that was really going to do that would have to span countries. One of the proudest operations that we were involved in was defeating an ISIS cell in Iraq that had a downed U.S. drone that they were going to load with explosives and bring to a hospital, explode it, and then blame it on the coalition. And to solve that problem, it required intel from the Danes, the Americans, and the Brits. And how does that work historically? Hopefully you have friends at each of these services, and you're all going to share information, and it gets through the foreign disclosure process, and everything in that methodology is set up so that we lose. You're not going to be able to do it fast enough to intervene. But our technology enabled that to happen machine to machine in a way that before they could get the drone out of their garage, they were gone.
How many lives are saved when AI systems can talk across borders faster than terrorists can move? This isn't science fiction. It's the operational edge AI provides today. The original vision of Palantir wasn't just about building software. It was about redefining the mission of AI to empower decisions that protect people.
I mean, so even after interviewing Joe, I'm still trying to figure out what Palantir does and how it deciphers all that information. I mean, just a couple. You guys are in anti-money laundering, rail, energy, defense, insurance, semiconductors, utilities, retail. I mean, there's got to be a list of at least 30 things.
Yeah. Well, at this point, so we do much more than counterterrorism, as you're pointing out. The business, there's two sides of it. There's the government side and the commercial side.
Okay.
And it's about 50-50, which is unusual, I think, for reasons we'll maybe get into later. But the commercial side, it's 50 different industries: energy and mining, insurance, pharmaceuticals. And the government side, most of what we're well known for is defense and intelligence. Absolutely. That's 2/3 of the business, but also health, the IRS, tax fraud, Justice Department, helping these organizations run themselves better. And what the technology really does, you can think about it as like an operating system for an organization. It allows you to actually see yourself. It's shocking how hard this is. How do I have access to all of the data that's in my enterprise in a way that I as a human think about it? I as the principal, not just the human, but I as the principal, like, what's my model for this? What are the questions I want to ask?
How can a government or Fortune 500 company win if it doesn't even know what it knows? It's easy to underestimate how chaotic enterprise data is. The fact that Palantir makes that human understandable, from IRS fraud to rail systems, shows it's not just about AI analysis, but about cognition. In an AI era, data isn't power, understanding is. This is the bridge between raw information and real-world action.
Simple example, when Rocket Man was rattling his saber in 2017 in North Korea, the Army wanted to answer the question, how many tanks are there in the Army? That is a 3-week data call.
Are you serious? It takes 3 weeks to get an inventory.
Until we got involved, it took 3 weeks to answer that question. because there's no canonical representation of a tank. And what do you mean by tank? Do you mean the ones that are ready or not ready? So the way you would do it is you would send down the data call to all of the units. They'd go check out the motor pool. They'd come back with the answer. And so there's no living, breathing canonical record that continues to flow through this. We've built these systems. The Army is older than the country, right? Like we've built these systems. It's like archaeology when you go back there and try to look at this. It's not how you would do it today, but that's our extant reality. We have to deal with this messiness. Sometimes, the cynical way to think about Palantir is it took something as sexy as James Bond to motivate engineers to work on a problem as boring as data integration. But that is the starting point. If you can't see yourself, if you can't integrate all your data, like you're just always chasing your tail. Then on top of that, we make powerful interfaces for decision making. One of the contrarian quips I have is that data is not the new oil. People have been running around saying data is the new oil, data is the new oil. I think data is the new snake oil. There's nothing inherently valuable about data. It's only valuable if you can use it to make a decision. So that it's about decision advantage. So how do I leverage this data I've now integrated so that you can make a better decision, you can see further in the future, that you can outcompete your competitor in the commercial world or your adversary in the defense world?
How do you expect to win a modern war if your systems can't even count your tanks? That's not just a military problem, that's a data failure at scale. Palantir's core value is cutting through that digital fog and turning bureaucratic noise into real-time, mission-critical clarity. Isn't that exactly the kind of AI we need? Not just smart, but operationally decisive. This is the part of AI no one glamorizes, but it's where the real transformation happens.
So, I mean, just for example, the down drone that ISIS was going to move into a hospital and blow it up and blame it on us. I mean, what kind of data are you guys feeding Palantir to make those type of decisions and to speed the process up?
So
To me, like, just for example, so I'm a former SEAL. I hear that and I think, okay, well, let's go raid the compound where they're doing that, kill all the bad guys, and recover the drone. And so the decision seems fairly, obvious in my opinion. So
the decision is leading up to the point where you realize that's what they're trying to do, right?
Okay.
So how do I integrate the human reporting that I have that tells me what might be going on? Now, keep in mind that one part of the reporting is in this country, one part of the reporting is in that country. Who's willing to share what, who even knows that sharing it is going to lead to a mission critical outcome that saves lives. So how do you start to automate more of that? How do you help them piece those things together? How do you combine the technical collection you have with this too? So maybe you have SIGINT that helps you understand this, helps you understand that this reporting is correlated to other cells that you actually care about, where you have intercepts that tell you something. How do I use my historic FMV footage, observations of that compound that help me piece together more things that lead to the conclusion we've got a problem here and we've got a tight timeline to act on
holy
that.
shit. So so am I right if I say, contractor for the agency, operator for the Navy SEALs, I saw how inefficient government communication is just within U.S. stuff. CIA, FBI, DEA, MIL, all these different organizations, it's a disaster trying to talk to each other. And so basically this takes all the information. So all these entities are feeding Palantir the information, and then Palantir basically what disseminates, or not disseminate, but processes the information and gives you the probability of what is likely going to happen.
It's like turning on the light on the battle space. The things that you couldn't see before, you could see now. Now, some important, might seem slightly technocratic, but we're providing the software to the government customer. So that no one's providing us all of this data.
Okay.
So the government has the data, great, but it's just sitting there. It's in the dark. It's hard to see all of this information. It's overwhelming. Great. How do we get the spotlight to highlight the things that actually matter? How do I get to ask the next question? So here's something that's risky. Okay, what are the next 10 questions you're going to want? Can you even answer those 10 questions in 10 seconds, or is that going to take you 10 weeks? If it takes you 10 weeks, you're not even going to bother answering those questions. All right, so can I make that fast enough that you get to why does this matter, and is this a threat or is this irrelevant? That's the first part of it. The second part of it that's really important is because why is this information sharing so hard? Well, there are lots of rules and regulations. People have different authorities. Different things can be shared. The way we enforce that today is with humans. which is crazy, which is why it's slow and inefficient and you miss things. We replace that enforcement with software. The software ensures no one can see anything they're not allowed to see. The software ensures, under the right conditions for information sharing, the right pieces of information flow from one agency to the other. So by automating that flow, it means that you kind of have a hive mind. The entire government can operate competently because you're actually able to see everything you're allowed to see, as opposed to, well, we have humans who are gatekeeping us along the way. It's just slowing everything down, which always, when you have humans, it always devolves into control. You know, it's not, the mission gets obfuscated by, well, we do this job, they do that job, and the interpersonal factors get in the way.
How many times has tragedy struck not because we lack data, but because we lack the speed to use it? When time is the difference between saving lives or headlines of disaster, this kind of AI is the edge we need. Palantir isn't just organizing messy government data, it's accelerating judgment under pressure. What good is intelligence if it's locked behind bureaucracy and bottlenecks? This isn't theoretical, it's operational. Automating information sharing across agencies using software, not people, removes the single biggest friction point in modern intelligence: human gatekeepers. The result? Faster decision cycles, clearer priorities, and coordinated action that could save lives.